Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your regular injection of mind-numbing local news. I think I finally cracked that, Rob. This is episode 346 now. We're recording mid-October. I don't really know if people need the exact dates, because by the time the episode goes out, it's kind of irrelevant. So maybe we skip the exact dates. There might be some people up in arms about that, Rob.
Well, Alex, I, for one, feel this date is important, because I'm sure you've remembered that this is a significant date for me.
It's not your birthday.
No, it's not. It's actually my wedding anniversary.
Is it your wedding anniversary today?
Yeah, we've been married 4 years today.
I have to tell you, I haven't put that one into my calendar. I don't feel that anniversaries are for other people to share. They're for you to share. They're for you to share. My parents used to say to me, "You didn't send us an anniversary card," and I'm like, "What?"
Well, do you know what? I think that maybe my best man should have remembered this. Although, to be fair, I had two best men and neither of them have contacted me. So, fuck them both.
But I'm asking you, so I know for the future. Would it please you to have a?
No. I honestly don't expect you to remember, Alex. No, there's no ill will here.
You might be left with egg on your face when that barbershop quartet turns up later on at your front door and sings you and Sarah a very happy message.
I look forward to that moment. Maybe I'll record it and put it on the Facebook, because it's not going to happen.
No, sorry, I just got a message. They've come down with COVID, and one of them's left the group to become a lorry driver as well.
Well, I hear that's where the money is, so you can't blame him.
Have you thought about retraining?
Well, Alex, I can barely drive a car, let alone a lorry, so, one step at a time.
Did you see that Keir Starmer did one of those things, where the politicians go off, stick on a high vis jacket and do something? So he drove a lorry, but he managed to crash it into a bollard.
No, I missed that. Oh, great.
He reversed it into it. But that shows how difficult that is to drive. Right, look, Rob, this is the regular LA podcast, everybody. Your regular LA on the regular feed. The extra bonus Patreon episodes are on patreon.com/LAPodcast extra. If you want those, I'll recap those to you later, but we really hope you can join us there. This is the regular LA, Rob, episode 346 now. I'm itching to crack on with things in a way, but is there any news?
Just one quick thing from Amy. So I don't know where she managed it. I'm assuming it was on Facebook, but we've featured Orlando's restaurant on this podcast an awful lot. We may as well have shares.
We're giving him a lot of promotion.
Yeah, I was about to say, we need to have shares in the restaurant or the B&B or whatever the hell he's running this week. But in case anyone's interested, Orlando's is now booking for Christmas diners. Sorry, that's Christmas dinners, not Christmas diners. Please order your meals. Send me your inquiries. My number is 07877 746 598. I will send you a menu. Part of me is tempted to message him.
Yeah, okay, do it.
Ask what the menu is.
Yeah, can you do that and get back to us next episode? But yeah, even with all this, he still claims he's not running a restaurant and therefore doesn't have to pay the normal licenses, correct?
Well, Khyber responds and basically says he must be giving some substantial backhanders to someone, which I think is a fair comment. What's the betting that if you go to the Xmas, you'll bump into the entire licensing department of Norwich Council eating free of charge?
Well, that is a serious claim, Khyber, to insinuate that Norwich Council are corrupt, which is what you're doing. That's a serious charge. I'd like to say, Rob, I've got a couple of things I just wanted to mention. I'm sure you've got more news, but talking of corruption, we have followed the career of Matt Hancock with great interest, and I now see that he has been made. I did think I was living in a dream when I read this, or that it was April Fool's just a number of months too early, that Matt Hancock has been made special envoy to Africa on their COVID response. A number of problems with that. One is that he shouldn't really be let near anything to do with COVID ever again. And two, I don't know, it seems something quite, insensitive and sort of almost colonial about Matt Hancock being special envoy to Africa.
As someone will respond on Twitter, hasn't Africa suffered enough?
Yeah, exactly. Also, Rob, I noticed I did enjoy that news during the Tory party conference. We weren't recording during then, but Ian Duncan Smith being attacked by the man with the traffic cone.
Yes, I also enjoyed that. Always a pleasure. And obviously, as you said during that period, that obviously Jacob Rees-Mogg was confronted about some of the Tory party policies, which was highly entertaining to see.
By a man with cerebral palsy, who it was actually very. It's about. It's a long watch, but very, very moving. And he really takes Jacob Rees-Mogg to task. And in that one scene, Rob, in that one clip, just look it up, anybody, just put in, well, you work out, search for it on Google, I'm sure. But in that one scene, seeing Jacob Rees-Mogg interact with a member of the general public really brought home what a sort of bizarre caricature he is. Do you see what I mean? It was literally like the Lord had stepped out of his ivory tower and was mixing with the plebs. Also, what I realised is Jacob Rees-Mogg reminds me of Where's Wally or Where's Waldo. He looks like him.
Yeah, he's quite thin and gaunt. Yeah, I mean, you can imagine him walking with a walking stick.
Yeah.
I always like to. It always makes me think when I see Where's Wally, what's happened to him that he needs a walking stick? Because he looks like a man in the prime of his life, but has he experienced some sort of horrendous injury?
Yeah, and why is he needing to hide?
Yeah, exactly. What's he on the run from?
Whenever I saw those Where's Wally things where you've got to find him, I always thought, really, it should be called Spot the Pervert.
See, we had a few Where's Wally's books in my primary school, and I remember one particular one, some arser gone through with a biro and circled all the Where's all the Wallies. Which just took, all the fun out of it, although it did save a lot of time.
Rob, is there any other news?
No.
Well, I've got just a quick update for you. You'll be pleased to hear that The Independent have reported, Rob. Now, I'm really confused, and you're always the man to help me out of confusion, especially when anything to do with memory is concerned. How many stories have we covered now exactly about people volunteering for some supposed doctor to to castrate men voluntarily? I think there are two main ones, aren't there? One was about the cabin in the woods, and then there was another one, which I think is the one we covered on the
backyards,
the backyard castration surgery, right. which we've covered on over on Patreon, which is one of the bonus episodes. Which
I felt was unfair because people had consented to the surgery. And for those who'd undergone it, were actually quite complimentary about the work he'd done, but he was still being prosecuted.
That was a great story. If you want to hear it, go to patreon.com/LAPodcast Extra and become a member of LA Podcast. Okay, Rob, this is the update on the cabin in the woods one.
Brilliant.
Accused, cabin, cannibal, jailed for botched castration of man he met online. Married couple arrested after victim went to hospital bleeding from amateur surgery. So you'll remember, Rob, it involved an Oklahoma man who castrated a volunteer at a cabin in the woods and bragged he intended to eat the testicles. He has been jailed. His name is Bob Lee Allen, 54. He performed the operation on a man he met online, who later told police that his body parts were stored in a freezer. Allen has been set to go on trial for the bizarre incident later this week, but reached a plea deal with prosecutors on the 31st of August and will serve, Rob, how many years behind bars? Guess that crime. Guess that sentence.
I wouldn't have thought it'd be that many, surely. Maybe, 4, 5?
12.
That seems excessive.
He was arrested by police when the 28-year-old volunteer who'd flown to Oklahoma from Virginia went to hospital because he was bleeding from the amateur surgery. Allen pleaded no contest to felony counts of conspiracy to commit unlicensed surgery. Can I just say, conspiracy to commit unlicensed surgery is a lovely phrase. Maybe for an episode title, I'm not sure. Practicing medicine without a license and attempted distribution of a psychedelic mushroom. No, sorry, I stand corrected. That's better.
Yep,
Can I just, we're going to put it now. That's going on the board. We'll see if one betters it, but I don't think it will. Attempted distribution of a psychedelic mushroom. Is that a euphemism for the man's penis?
Quite possibly, yeah, it could be. Freeze-dried butter mushrooms.
Exactly. He also pleaded no contest to 2 misdemeanor counts and was sentenced to 2 years in jail and 10 years in prison. Allen told the judge he believed the plea was in his best interest because, in his quotes, a jury might convict me. According to the Oklahoman, which sounds like a great paper. Investigators were told by the victim that Allen claimed he had been performing gender reassignment surgeries for 15 years and had 6 clients ready to go under the knife. The victim made contact with Allen through his website, Eunuch Maker, while searching online about castrations. What happens if you put Eunuch Maker into Trustpilot, Rob?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that, Alex. Am I being really naive? Is eunuch gender?
No, exactly.
So how is he doing gender reassignment surgery? Is he just maintaining that he's reassigning your gender by cutting your cock off?
He's taking you from one gender to being gender neutral, Rob. No?
Oh, right.
He flew to Dallas,
No,
Texas,
you're right.
he flew to Dallas, Texas, and the couple drove the volunteer to their remote cabin in the south part of the state. Now, if I have contacted a supposed doctor, or whatever he calls himself, on a website called Eunuch Maker and arranged to have my dick chopped off and presumably balls, which is a pretty big piece of surgery, I would begin to become suspicious when I'm being driven out to a cabin in the woods. That doesn't seem like the most sanitized or medical facility to me. Isn't that the bit where you think, okay, I've made a huge mistake?
So that's the point where you think you've made a mistake, not the fact that you've gone to a website called Eunuch Maker.
No,
that's, that wasn't ringing any alarm bells from the off.
It would be, but I'm saying this would seal the deal, Rob.
It would be. I mean, there are many points where this man should have really sort of looked at his life choices.
Well, Alan performed a 2-hour surgery on the man using only local anaesthetic. So we got a name check, Rob. We got a name check in the story. I think that's a. I mean, Alex, I think that's a wink from the Independent right there. They've heard us cover it. They've given us a wink.
I mean, I wish it was under better circumstances. I think I have been under local anaesthetic, but my God, that must have been excruciating when that wore off. I mean, obviously he went to hospital because he was bleeding quite badly, but yeah.
Rob, I want to cover now just 2 stories dealing with very topical themes. One is the question of COVID to some degree, which is still a thing. We are still in the midst of a pandemic, everybody. Please try and remember that. But the other thing is Northern Ireland. Would you like to tell our listeners, Rob, especially for our international listeners, why Northern Ireland is such a hot topic at the moment?
Well, interestingly, I've actually got in front of me a story about Northern Irelanders. I'm hoping it's not the same story.
If I say to you, big shoes, red noses.
Yep. Yes, it is.
We're going to cover the same story, aren't we?
We're going to cover the same story. That's fine. I've got others. I mean, it needs to be covered because this is a very, very sad outcome of the pandemic.
But why is Northern Ireland in the news at the moment, Rob? It's in the news.
Well, to do with Brexit, about apparently that Boris only signed the Brexit protocols to get the deal done. And
now wants to renegotiate that. And basically, for anybody who doesn't know, Northern Ireland is part of the UK, but because they're also part of the island of Ireland, it creates a whole bit of a mess in terms of, like, do they remain in sort of certain agreements with the EU in terms of customs and trade and various legal agreements, and if not, that suddenly means you've got to have some kind of border in the Irish Sea to check on goods, and that then disrupts the whole Good Friday Agreement and everything like that. It's a really thorny political issue. Correct, Rob? Is that a fair enough summary?
Yeah, I don't think we need to go into any more detail. I feel that we could be straying into dangerous territory.
But the reason why that's all important, Rob, is because, completely unrelated, there is a clown shortage in Northern Ireland. Now, why did we go off on that long tangent? I don't know if it was a LAPodcast extra episode over at Patreon or on the regular podcast about clowns. We must have covered a story about clowns. And I revealed that I had once actually performed as a clown at a children's birthday. I don't want to, just to be very clear, that I did it as a child, not an adult. I feel if I'd done it as an adult, you would worry that there was something wrong with me. It was when I was about 10 or 11 I did it, and I did Paul Daniels magic tricks, and about 50% of them went well, but 50% of them went wrong. Yeah.
I mean, thank you for bringing that back to memory. Delighted to hear that.
The original story, wasn't it? It was about that. It was about that man who'd had his clown shoes stolen, and he was like, "Why would somebody steal them?"
Oh yes, his ridiculously expensive clown shoes, which I'm sure he said they were about £30,000 because they were custom made or some shit like that.
Something like that. Well, look, Rob, this is from the 29th of September. There's no journalists because no journalists work for BBC anymore. It's all written by robots.
Yep.
Clown shortage appeal for new recruits in Northern Ireland. There's a lot more to being a clown than just putting on a big red nose and big baggy pair of pants. And that's according to David Duffy, co-owner of Duffy's Circus, who's appealing for people from Northern Ireland to become clowns.
Alex, just want to say this. Maybe he should look into the Palace of Whitehall because of all the politicians that are clowns.
You are right though, Rob, because Boris Johnson would genuinely make a very good clown. I mean, in the full regalia, wouldn't he?
Oh God, yes. I mean, with that hair, he already looks like he's wearing a wig. And with his funny hair and his just pompous fucking act, yes, he really would, Alex.
And we could throw tomatoes at him, maybe.
Can I just hang on? Is there not a case to be made that Boris and Jacob Rees-Mogg are the new Laurel and Hardy?
Oh my God. Oh my dear God, somebody needs to put that in a cartoon. Yes, absolutely.
So Boris is the bumbling, idiotic, I don't want to say portly, but portly. And then we've got, you've got the straight man, maybe the downtrodden, which would be obviously completely at odds to what Jacob actually is. But Alex, there is a film in the making there. Maybe, can I just say, as always, the appeal goes out to Face the Strange. If you are listening, please, if you have the time, mock that up for us.
Yes. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a shortage of clowns as many returned to their home countries when the first lockdown came into force in early 2020, according to Mr. Duffy. So I don't know if you know this, Rob, all clowns come from a certain country. I didn't know this. They all come from a country
apparently so,
which
yeah.
which keeps itself hidden and nobody realizes exists, and that's where they all come from.
That would be a living nightmare, right?
Well, yeah, it's called Clownland, but as I say, it's hidden. Nobody knows where it is.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah. Anyway, what makes a good clown? Someone who's willing to make themselves vulnerable, says Nolene Fries Newman, known professionally as Silly Tilly. Well, I'd call myself Silly Tilly if my name was Nolene Fries Newman. It's a bit of a mouthful. Also, middle name Fries.
Yeah, I agree.
What's your middle name? Fries. Literally named after the chip.
Oh, I was about to say maybe he's named after the chocolatiers, the Fries chocolate. Which
it's a woman, Rob. That's why she's called Silly Tilly.
Oh, sorry, right. Yeah, okay. Well, she was then named I'm not sure if Fries is still a going concern, actually. It might have been taken over. I think it probably have.
Not everyone likes to be laughed at, she says, but for someone who is a clown, your worst nightmare would be not to be laughed at. And she told this to the BBC's Good Morning Ulster programme. You have to be able to poke fun at yourself. It's not about poking fun at other people. During lockdown, Miss Fries Newman and her husband Henrik, who's also a clown known as Jarl, set up a big top circus tent in their garden, allowing them to continue to rehearse and perform. So, Rob, what do you make of one clown marrying another clown? That must get fucking tedious.
Surely they turn it off when they're at home because they can't go into like comedy routines where it's just slapstick around the house. First of all, it'd be dangerous, and second of all, it'd be incredibly expensive.
Do you think
if they're, I don't know, hitting each other with frying pans? What else do clowns do? Squirting each other with the water?
It'd be that bottom, wouldn't it, Rob? Rob, do you think they make love in their clown outfits?
Oh God, yes, yeah. I mean, there's definitely some role play going on there.
I'm looking at a picture of them now, this married couple, and they are two of the most irritating-looking people I've ever seen in my life.
Is the woman holding the pig, right? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Is that picture? Yeah. Not a real pig, I should add. It looks like it's a squeezy pig toy. Not a toy for a pig, just a toy that is a pig.
The couple first met at an international clown festival before having a clown-themed wedding in 2017.
Okay, hang on.
I'm visiting that link.
First of all, there's an international clown festival?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Right, and then they had a clown-themed wedding.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the original write-up of that story. The pair first met at an international clown festival and love ballooned. Get it, Rob? A friend of the couple told the Mirror their recipe for marital harmony. Tilly reckons it's because she speaks only English and Giles speaks only Danish, the pal told the paper. Right,
so they can't communicate. Fantastic.
They can't communicate apart from through, presumably, clown language.
Alex, I've never met these people and I never want to, and I think it's fair to say I hate them.
Lockdown was hard for Mr. Duffy and his circus has been closed for more than 500 days. It will soon be able to tour in Northern Ireland again following changes to COVID-19 restrictions. So is there a specific restriction on clown-themed activities? And now the floodgates have opened. We can return to... Because I'll tell you what, Rob, during the pandemic, the main thing that I kept thinking to myself was, for fuck's sake, when am I going to be able to go to the circus again?
Absolutely, Alex. I mean, it's very, very difficult to perform good slapstick when you've got social distancing measures in place. You need to be making contact with the other person, otherwise the jokes just fall flat.
Because all the circuses in Europe and England have been up and operational for the past 6 months, that huge pool of EU artists are already back at work, and up until last week we haven't been able to even get visas issued for non-EU artists and entertainers, Mr. Duffy said. That's why we're trying to reach out for any of our folks at home who feel they can give it a go. In order to be a clown, Mr. Duffy says you have to be really, really adaptable and be able to think on your feet, your big feet, Rob. When you go into the circus ring and you've got 700 to 800 people looking at you, no matter what sort of mood what sort of mood you're in, you have to light up that circus ring, he said. Not a euphemism, Rob. Would you like to light up his circus ring, Rob?
I mean, I shouldn't say anything, Alex. Don't incriminate myself.
A clown actually can be the loneliest place, he says, because you're in there on your own and you have to be able to... I think it's meant to say a circus can be the loneliest place because you're in there on your own and you have to be able to read your audience. In a short couple of minutes, you have to be able to get a rapport going with them and interact and feed off them, not literally. Nobody's accusing him of cannibalism. That's the other guy who did the castration.
Good to know.
Aspiring clowns will be performing a short piece during online auditions being held by Mr. Duffy as he recruits a new team of performers. Now, Rob, you are going to get in contact with Orlando from Orlando's and ask for the menu. Will you also do an online audition for Mr. Duffy to become a clown? Chestnut will be your name. Chestnut the clown.
Why?
I don't know.
Why Chestnut?
Don't know. Just like it.
Have I ever told the story that I once... This is, again, one of these stories that... You accused me on a recent podcast of... Not accused me. You basically said that you thought you heard every one of my anecdotes and I revealed I used to work in a book packing factory.
Yeah.
I also went to Paris once and did 2 days of clown courses.
Hang on a minute.
But that's a story. That's a story for another day.
Hang on a minute, Rob. When we covered the last story about clowns, and I told you I performed as a clown when I was 11 to children, you mentioned nothing about this. What do you mean you went to clown school?
Alex, I didn't want to top your anecdote.
So tell it now. What do you mean you went to clown school?
Right. So very quickly. So when I was in, I think sixth form, for some reason my drama class went on a trip to Paris for 3 days, and 2 of those days were spent in a suburban part of Paris in a windowless room learning the arts of commedia dell'arte and clowning. Which evolved, I mean, it started off just doing trust exercises, then it was a bit of slapstick, and then there was a lot of mask work and this kind of thing. And then on the third day...
God, Rob, this all does... You really were involved in a lot of pretentious crap, weren't you? I mean, let's be honest.
Then the third day, we went to Disneyland Paris.
Right.
It was great.
And is that where you first encountered the Blue Lagoon? The restaurant that now closed down, but was your favourite restaurant in the world?
Well, funny you should say that. I don't think it must have been, yeah, because I think we did go on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, but it was only years later that I returned to actually be a patron of the restaurant.
Which no longer exists,
yeah,
I understand. It's just I think it's called like...
It does exist. It does exist.
But it's not called the Blue Lagoon.
No, sadly not, no.
Well, that changes things, Rob. Now, look, I promised a story about COVID, but it's gonna. But I'll just run through it really quickly. It's from The Guardian by Anna Timms, 27th of September. Family in tears, Rob, after Cornwall hotel booking swapped for Uxbridge. So basically, they booked a lovely getaway in Ritalac Resort near Newquay, one of Cornwall's top water sports centres. I don't believe that means the fetish that certain people have of peeing on each other. I think it relates to actual aquatic activities.
Yeah.
Guests are housed in self-catering lodges with glazed frontages looking over a lake. Basically, Rob, the mirror opposite of Pontins. And they were all looking forward to spending their summer holiday. But when they arrived there after a 4-hour drive, they were told there was no record of the reservation they'd made via the online travel agent Booking.com. 6 months previously, there was no possibility of fitting them in. Booking.com alerted to their plight, fired off an email reassuring the family that it had found them a similar alternative, which they told them was in Uxbridge, a London suburb close to Slough. The email said it hoped they were having a great day. And, yeah.
That's extraordinary. I'm sorry. Who thought that those two things were comparable? I mean, Uxbridge is lovely. Well, parts of it. I mean, it's obviously Boris Johnson's constituency as well. Is that right?
Well, Rob, the children were very upset, but Booking.com claimed that the hotel had overbooked and that it would consider refunding the costs, but it wouldn't provide compensation for upset children.
That's fair, Alex. I mean, Alex, there are so many things they can do around there as well. I mean, you've got RAF Northolt, you've got Ruislip Lido. You can go to Heathrow to watch the planes.
Exactly. What the fuck are you complaining about? Okay, Rob, you got some stories for us.
Yes. So, first story is from the Bournemouth Echo, a paper that obviously you know quite well. It's from the 9th of October.
So once again, this is I thought, I don't know if it was on the Patreon episode, LA Podcast Extra Jab, or the last LA, but on one of them you already walked straight over my patch, which was the new shopper, and now you're doing it again.
Alex, a lot of your story has been a lot more, international. So I feel there's a duty to go back and
you're right
and mop up the sloppy seconds.
Okay, fine.
So this is by Ben Willits, and it's from the 9th of October. And the headline: a Bournemouth man immersed grey squirrel in freezing water.
Sorry, why? Was he trying to drown the squirrel?
You'll find out. Or
was he trying to bring the squirrel back to life?
No, it was definitely the first one.
Or was he trying to cryogenically freeze the squirrel?
Well, surely he just put it into a freezer, though. By the way, I'm not advocating that in order to try and work out,
Rob,
how cryogenics works, you put things in the freezer.
Is that a good idea, Rob? Isn't that a good idea? We're worried about the future of the planet, right, and the environment. Why don't we take 2 of every species, yeah, like Noah's Ark style,
yeah,
and put them in a big freezer, and hope that generations to come or aliens will have the technology to unfreeze them and reanimate them. There, we don't have to worry about the environment anymore. Fuck it.
This is basically what things like, I know that obviously Walt Disney has famously had himself cryogenically frozen in the hope that in years to come they can have, or they've developed the technology to reanimate him. I'm not entirely sure it's a good idea just to pick off animals from the street and just stick them in your freezer. You sound a lot like the man from Snarl.
No, I wasn't saying that it would be random people. I'm saying we do this as a worldwide effort. Put them in a big freezer.
I see, right.
No.
Still seems slightly odd, I'll be honest. Bit nasty. So, a man immersed a grey squirrel in a bin full of freezing water after telling their neighbours they were pests and vermin.
I like this, man.
So, Clifford...
They're basically rats with bushy tails, but they are gorgeous. I mean, I'd love to have if they were docile, I'd love to have a pet squirrel. Yeah.
So, Clifford James Henley, 53, of Drummond Road, Bournemouth, told a court he was on the side of British wildlife after he trapped the squirrel in his garden on January 2nd, 2021.
Sorry, this went to court. He had to appear in court.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Alex, he was trying to drown a squirrel.
Yes, but I wouldn't have thought that would. I understand we're a nation of animal lovers, but haven't we got bigger fish to fry? I'm not saying that it should be carte blanche to go and kill squirrels, but court. He's not been going to jail, has he? Like 10 years.
When neighbours heard it screaming, he said,
Squirrels don't scream, do they?
If they're in distress, Alex, I've heard a squirrel scream, and I'll tell you, it's...
Is that that time you tried to make love to one?
No, I was trying to put it in the freezer. Yeah, so when neighbours heard it screaming, he said, "Watch me," and submerged it into the bin of water.
Watch me! Watch me.
Yeah. He was convicted at Paul Magistrates Court for causing unnecessary suffering to the protected animal. Sorry, are squirrels protected animals?
I thought they were vermin. Maybe they belong to the Queen.
Maybe. But what I like is he said he was on the side of British wildlife. So I'm assuming that because obviously, as we know, red squirrels are native to this country. The grey pest or the grey vermin has obviously almost eradicated them. So he was fighting back. He was waging a one-man war against grey squirrel.
Rob, I don't know if there's any detail in this, but did he somehow catch? It would be very hard to catch a squirrel. Did he catch the squirrel with his bare hands and then try and drown it?
So, prosecuting, Sophie Evans told 2 neighbours, Jasana Wozniak and Claudia Kosisk noticed a squirrel screaming in a cage in Henley's garden. So he'd laid traps. Okay. Mr. Wozniak picked up the cage and she was...
He's like Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely, yeah. Which is ironic because he looks like a very, very gaunt version of Elmer Fudd.
Right.
So Miss Wozniak picked up the cage and was approached by Mr. Henley. He began to shout at her and told her not to touch the cage. He said he caught squirrels so he could kill them because they're pests. He carried it to a bin full of water and submerged it in the cage.
Do you think he wept as he did this? Do you think he cried as he drowned?
No, I from again looking at him, he has the eyes of a killer.
Okay. Do you think he gently stroked its head with his thumb? Why didn't he just break its neck? Why did he have to drown it?
I think he liked the suffering. I think he liked the prolonged suffering.
Do you think he ate it after? He's probably done this to quite a number of squirrels beforehand.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Giving evidence, Miss Wozniak told the court Henley said he was allowed to kill squirrels. He said, "Watch me," took the cage and put it inside the water.
Okay. He wasn't holding it with his bare hands under there.
No, it was so basically he was submitting the squirrel in the cage in the water.
Oh, okay.
He said it was like a rat spreading diseases. He said he had to kill them. He took the cage and said, "Look what I do," implying that he has done it more than once.
Then he took it out of the cage and threw it up against the wall.
He said the one way the squirrel could not have suffered would be if it was already dead. Oh, so that was the veterinary surgeon who was the expert witness in this case. He was saying that the only way that the squirrel wouldn't have experienced any pain was if it was already dead. This was an excruciating way to die.
I've heard it's quite peaceful though, isn't it? Drowning. That once the water goes into your lungs, you're overtaken by this sort of sense of peace. Is that not correct?
No, I think it's incredibly painful, Alex.
Oh, right. Okay, maybe I'm getting it confused with something else. Rob, did it after he'd killed it, did he take it out of the cage, hold it aloft? What's his name?
It was Clifford James Henry.
Oh, well, that's
Henley,
a shame.
sorry.
Okay, Clifford. So after he killed the squirrel, did he take it out of the cage, Rob, hold it aloft and exclaim, "Clifford's got himself a cock warmer for Christmas"?
Sadly not, no.
Right, that's a shame. That would have been a good way to end the incident.
Yeah. If anyone cares, he is due to be sentenced on the 1st of November. My second story, very quickly, is from the Swindon Advertiser from the 5th of October by Daniel Wood. And the headline, "Furious passengers forced GWR train to turn around after it failed to stop at Swindon."
Well, they should have been grateful, Rob. I've been to Swindon.
I mean, that's... Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that. I'd just like to say, by the way, Swindon are doing very well this season so far, if anyone's interested. I know you're not, but even so.
Who's your new manager? Roger Rabbit? Who is it?
His name's Ben Garner.
Right.
He was actually coached by Mourinho. But
Okay.
He's worked under Pulis, he's worked under a few people, but he's only had one managerial spell before us, but so far he's doing very well.
It's more managerial spells than Arsenal's manager have had. He's had 0. So anyway,
Good
yes.
point. And also,
I'm an Arsenal fan.
We actually have a head coach and director of football set up, but that's not important right now. So a GWR train...
You haven't been bought out by the Saudi Arabian royal family then?
No, thankfully. I mean, we've been bought out by an Australian corporation led by a wonderful guy called Clem Morfuni even. But again, that's not relevant right now. And as far as I know, he hasn't committed any, war crimes or, crimes against humanity. So that's always a bonus.
Yep.
A GWR train from Penzance to Paddington was due to stop at Swindon, was forced to turn around after its passengers as it whizzed through the station. An early train cancellation meant that the 2:19 Penzance service, which doesn't usually stop at the town, had Swindon added to the route. But after it failed to stop, many passengers who got on the train after being told it would stop at Swindon protested by setting off more than 6 emergency alarms.
You said they forced the train to turn around. I've never seen a train turn around.
So the mutiny, as the Swindon Advertiser describes it, the mutiny...
It is mutiny, yeah.
Yeah. The mutiny left bewildered railway staff no choice but to turn the train around.
When they say turn around, they just mean go back the other way.
It went back the other way. Yeah. But fair play to him for that.
Yeah.
in this day and age, Alex.
But what was it? They must have had some. They must have had some ammunition, not literal. But what did they have? How did they convince the?
Well, I think what it does is when you pull the emergency alarm, it applies the brakes.
Oh, I see. So they would just keep pulling it if he tried to leave.
The train then terminated at Reading more than 2 hours after it was meant to arrive at London Paddington. Passengers told the Telegraph that the experience was a nightmare. The Telegraph reports one passenger who wished to remain anonymous said, "Swindon united against GWR in mutiny." Alex, what I'd like to say is this is a modern day mutiny on the Bounty.
It is.
People have had enough of big corporations treating them like shit.
Can I also just say the Pirates of Penzance?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, Robert, it's time for our listener's story of the week, and I'm sad to say I still haven't found the Purple Rod, the recorder, but that's because I haven't actually looked for it. I keep forgetting. It's a job for this weekend. I'm going to put it on a list because I know it's here. Nobody's stolen it. Yeah.
Alex, 2 weeks ago, I sent you a WhatsApp image. Did I not?
You did of your. Well, yeah, I've asked you to send me dick pics before, to be fair, but you keep doing it. So.
And we're not talking about that now. I'm talking about. I was in a charity shop, which I do tend to frequent on occasions, and I saw a beautifully handcrafted wooden recorder, which was in near mint condition, for £1.
Yeah. I
sent it to you and said, "Would you like it?" And you said no.
I rebuffed your offer with extreme prejudice, Rob. No, because the Purple Rod is the Purple Rod. The Purple Rod, Rob, is the Purple Rod, and that everybody will tell you. Just like I'm sure with your guitar that I know you're still learning. You become very attached to your instrument, and I, Rob, am attached to my instrument. As I said, my velvet purple rod. I don't know why I keep calling it Rob. That's weird.
No.
Anyway, I'm just gonna. Let me just play you a little ditty again using only my vocal cords as I did in the last episode because we still want Lyra to have a complete bank of songs that I've made for her. Here it is.
Sorry, a complete what?
Bank.
Oh, bank. Sorry, right, right, yeah.
And I haven't even thought about this, Rob. I'm making it up as I go along. It's turned into a trumpet now. That's gone.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, great. Okay, fantastic. I didn't think it get any worse, but you always manage to find a new low.
Yeah.
So this was submitted by Claire in New Orleans.
Claire, yes.
Who I liaised during the week because I want to make sure that she was okay, obviously after the hurricane, and that she had to evacuate.
Oh, did she?
Everything's fine.
But is her property okay and everything?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Good.
But they were without power for a long time. Anyway, so she sends this story. It is courtesy of it's NOLA.com, which looks like it covers, as you'd think, Baton Rouge, New Orleans. I don't even know where that is. Anyway, but that kind of area. The story is from the 9th of September by Michelle Hunter. And the headline, National Guard member arrested at a Lario Central distribution site, poured a gun on colleague.
Right. Okay, so this was some sort of workers' dispute, I'm assuming.
You find out. A member of the Louisiana National Guard assigned to hand out hurricane relief supplies at the Lario Center near Westwog was arrested Wednesday night after he brandished a gun and threatened to kill another soldier, according to the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office.
Well, Robbie, look, tensions are running high at the moment, and in a crisis like that, sometimes your emotions get the better of you. And who hasn't pulled a gun
Absolutely.
on a work colleague, Rob, before? It happens.
So, Private Justin Edwards, 22, of Kenwood, became enraged after the unidentified fellow soldier kicked him in the genitals while the two were practicing fighting moves on each other, said Captain Jason Rivardi, a sheriff officer spokesman said.
So they were kind of play fighting, for want of a better word, and one of them took it too far, kicked him in the nuts, and that then took the other person over the edge.
And he drew his weapon. His colleague.
He drew his weapon. Yeah, I mean, not a euphemism.
Not a euphemism.
His actual pistol.
Yeah. Again, I'd have to stress this is while they were in the process of handing out relief packages for those who have been displaced by the hurricane.
So my first question is, why were they engaged in this tomfoolery play fighting when, I mean, that doesn't seem like the time or the place, really, does it?
No. Well, Alex, look, they're young men. Maybe they were on a break, and they're having a bit of rough and tumble, which obviously went too far. Things got out of hand.
Rob and I, for anybody who's kind of new to listening to this podcast, maybe hasn't listened to the very extensive back catalogue we have, spanning God knows how many years now. And Rob and I used to work together when we first met, and I remember many a lunch break, Rob, where we would take ourselves off for lunch and sort of we'd go into the basement of where we worked, strip down to our underwear, grease ourselves up with butter, and fight, Rob. And those
for many happy months.
Yeah, those were good times.
They were, and it was only that damn caretaker that ruined it for us.
Apparently you're not meant to fight. In the workplace, but live and learn.
Well, there's no need to record it either. I mean, I don't know whether it was for his own use, but it was. I felt violated. What can I say? By him, by the way, not you. Apparently, the confrontation occurred around 10 p.m. at the site, which was 2000 Segnity Boulevard, where the National Guard had been providing residents affected by Hurricane Ida with water, ice, and MREs.
Okay.
Not sure what MREs are.
No.
Medical? Don't know. Okay. The site closed at 6 p.m. So this was 4 hours after the site had closed.
Right. So the patrons didn't have to witness this. The people requiring aid didn't have to see this go down.
No. So what had happened is the soldiers apparently had bunked down overnight in the centre, and
hijinks ensued.
Angered by the kick, Edwards allegedly pulled out a handgun and pointed at the other soldier. Rivani said it's not clear whether the weapon was issued by the National Guard, so he may have just had his own weapon on him, just for shits and giggles. We've all done it, Alex.
This guy's really from the same school of thought as the guy who drowned the squirrel, isn't he? I mean, they're similar stories in a way.
Yeah, things escalate very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always my favourite.
And that's it.
Well, listen, everybody, that brings this episode of LA Podcast 346 to a close. We look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation yet trepidation to our next episode, which will be episode 347, Rob, as we move ever more forward, I guess I'd like to say, like a family, Rob, who've booked a nice sort of their first summer holiday together away since the start of the pandemic, lovely Cornwall, to engage in a water sports fetish to a degree. Only to find when they turn up at the hotel, Rob, that there is no booking and that they are being sent to Uxbridge near Slough instead. Which, to be fair, I mean, you can still piss on each other in Slough, Rob. Just like that, we move.
Yeah, I think that's a pastime that the locals often engage in, as far as I'm aware.
Yep. Just like that, we move ever more forward to our next episode, which, as I say, will be episode 347. So listen, everybody, we can be found on our website, LAPodcast.net. Really, the most important thing you need to know is if you want more content, go over right now to patreon.com/LAPodcast extra. That's Patreon. Oh, by the way, I should spell Patreon for anybody who's not familiar with it. It's not Patreon, it's Patreon. So it's patreon.com/LAPodcast extra. And from there, you can sign up to become a member of LA Podcast and Extra Jab, which are our bonus episodes that we release every month. So basically, you pay £2 a month every month, and you get 2 bonus episodes that will be delivered straight to your inbox, and you can listen to them, and they're fantastic. And of course, you can stop at any time. You're not signed up for a year or anything like that. But for the people who've already done that, we really appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell your family. I always say tell random passers-by about this podcast. And yeah, join us over on the Patreon, because Rob, this week, but so you know, I know we're not recording this quite yet, but I will be covering, Rob, a story about amongst other things, a story about special ops troops, Rob. Special ops troops who were attacked by none other than a ninja. Yes, that story is real, and I will be covering it. Rob, I can see you're looking forward to that, amongst many others, on LA Podcast and Extra Jab. What will it be now, Rob? Episode 7?
Yes.
7. Yeah, so if you do sign up now, not only will you be getting the 2 episodes a month, you will also get the 7 episodes that will already be there. So do that as well. We can be found on Facebook, facebook.com/LAPodcast. We are on Twitter @LAPodcast. We're on Spotify. We're on Amazon Music now, Rob, aren't we? On the podcast there.
We are, yes. Amazingly.
Yeah, you can find this regular LA podcast there. All the bonus episodes are exclusive to Patreon. They can only be found there. Right, Rob, I've had enough of that. I'm done. I'm finished. We look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thank you for listening, everybody. Come join us over on Patreon. God bless.
And keep it local.